This drum sound was recorded with only 4 microphones, and if you want to know how to record your drums with few mics, stay tuned. Let's find out. Not everybody can afford a whole lot of microphones, so now let's check out a few different ways of miking the kit with just one microphone. We're going to check out a few different positions to set up one microphone that I have found useful, and we're going to use this microphone for it. It's an M201 by Beyerdynamic. It's a dynamic microphone, and I'd always say start with one of those. So let's first set this thing up in front of the kit and hear how it sounds.
One thing that's important here is to take some time setting up this mic. The fewer mics you use in total, the more your whole drum sound is going to vary if you raise or lower the mic or point it in a different direction. Lower means more bass drum, higher means more cymbals. We set our mic up 2 to 3 feet above the ground and about 6 feet away from the kit. This allows some room sound to leap onto the mic, which helps balance out the volume of the different parts of the drum kit without becoming too indirect. Here's the result without any audio processing. Now let's add some EQ and compression. As a slightly more direct and attacky alternative, you can also set up the mic behind the kit. This enhances the floor tom sound and sounds a little more tight and compact. First we'll listen to it dry or without any effects, then again with some EQ and compression. If you want an even punchier sound, you can also set up the mic in the middle of the kit. This is also called a Wurst mic and works especially well on a 4-piece kit, as you can place the mic where the second rack tom would usually go. Again, take your time and compare some different angles and positions, as inches are everything here. Also, the closer you get to the bass drum, the more low end you're gonna get because of a phenomenon called the proximity effect. Here is how it sounds, first dry, then wet.
If you have 2 channels available, my suggestion would be using one overhead mic and one kick mic. And ideally, I'd choose a large diaphragm condenser for an overhead mic such as this M90 Pro X by Beyerdynamic. And in this instance, we're also going to use a TGD70, which is a dynamic kick microphone.
We placed the kick mic just inside the hole of the bass drum. The overhead mic is not too high and kind of behind my back. I also pointed it toward the toms at an angle, which enhances the toms and reduces cymbal volume slightly. Again, experiment a little and trust your ears.
The next step would be to add a second overhead mic in an A-B configuration to make it stereo.
Everything so far has been mono, meaning all audio has been coming out of your left and right speakers in equal amounts. By adding a second overhead mic, you can place one of them on the left and one of them on the right channel, which gives the sound some width and helps you hear more detail within the sound. With this setup, which is also called A-B, it's important to measure the distance from the center of the snare to each mic and make it the same. Otherwise, the sound will reach one of the mics sooner than the other and create phasing issues, where one mic cancels the other out. We did this and placed one mic above the left crash and rack tom and the other above the right and floor tom, keeping the kick mic the way it was before. With this setup, you can boost the rack tom on the left mic and the floor tom on the right mic using an EQ. This can sound really fat.
One thing that can happen if you have an AB overhead setup and no close mics on the toms is the floor tom being too low in volume compared to the rack tom. So now we're going to switch to a configuration that keeps the same mics but emphasizes the floor tom more. It's called Glynn Johns. It basically keeps the left overhead roughly in the same spot, but it moves this one over to this position, which emphasizes the floor tom a lot more. One thing that can happen with this mic configuration is the snare being not present enough or not having enough body. So to complete our 4-mic setup, let's add the M201 from the beginning back into this setup as a snare mic.
The snare mic is placed at a pretty flat angle and pointed towards the center of the drum head. It's about an inch or two above the rim of the drum. Be sure not to go too far into the head, as this makes it sound unnatural pretty quickly. Adding a snare mic to the setup from before reinforces the snare just a little by adding some tone and attack. When mixing this mic in, be sure to check whether or not flipping the phase of the snare in relation to the overheads makes it sound better or not, and go with what you like more. I mixed all of these demonstrations using only EQ and compression plugins for demonstration purposes. Of course, you can add things like reverb or saturation if you want to make it a little prettier, but it's not necessary for the mix to work.
I hope that this demonstration gave you an idea that you don't need 1,000 microphones to get a good drum sound. If you know what you're doing, you can totally do it with just 1, 2, 3 or 4 mics. So I hope you learned something, and see you next time. Take care. Einmalig, gell, wie ich das gesagt habe.
Das war schön, du.